Welcome you all here today. We are meeting to hear testimony on examining the challenges in Puerto Rico's recovery and the role of the Financial Oversight and Management Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses who are here today. Director Jaresco, I want to understand the backdrop by which we are dealing with here. And of course, it is about PROMOSA. So PROMOSA was not intended to address the hurricane, clearly. It was to address the economic turnaround of Puerto Rico, and that was, of course, passed last year in the Congress. You've said that the PROMOSA tools are fine. What you would like to see is basically the Congress put appropriations behind some of the, I guess, the legislative mandates that we may have in there. Yet, Mr. Zamat, who is really entrusted with doing the part that you found to be so critical, because you also said that if the electricity falls into place, then everything else will sort of, I guess, the domino effect would be that things would get better. But Mr. Zamat has said in his testimony that he feels that there's not enough teeth, I guess, for lack of a better description, in PROMOSA. He has 3 steps in his testimony on page 3, and he said that basically I'm sorry, I think he is also on page, he is on page 3. He says, first, to bring all available resources to bear to restore power on Puerto Rico as quickly as possible. Second, to develop and implement the transformation plan for PREPA and a near-term recovery activity, and to ensure the utility exits PROMOSA's Title III. Title III is the debt. So we've come full circle. Your debt is about $74 billion, right? And that's just, I guess, the outstanding bond debt and so forth. So how are we going to do all of this where one of the major priorities of the recovery of the electrical grid, and Mr. Zamat can, because this is his testimony, how are you going to do that when $74 billion isn't going to go away?
So I think, first of all, we need to just clarify, PREPA, with regard to Mr. Zamat, has about $9 billion of that 74. The rest is the Commonwealth and other instrumentalities. Right. And I think the reason that the board named and decided at this very difficult time to appoint Mr. Zamat is to bring all these processes together, because they can no longer be looked at in separate silos. We can't deal with the bankruptcy and the Title III separate from the transformation of the energy sector, because how we deal with private sector investment or not has to be in that plan of adjustment. It also has to be in the fiscal plan. And then we have all this federal funding hopefully coming to PREPA to rebuild quickly.
So do you want $74 billion? I'm just trying to understand. You have $74 billion. I understand $9 billion is PREPA.
Yes.
But you're saying that the electrical restoration is the most important.
Yes.
So, Mr. Zamat, when you talk about exiting the, quote, Title III, the debt, which is the debt, are you talking about exiting $9 billion, or are you talking about the whole $74 billion?
No, ma'am. We're talking about a transformation plan that will address PREPA as a covered entity under Title III. And exiting Title III via the plan of adjustment means that we now have a legally enforceable way forward to transform the electric utility, and part of that is actually the renegotiation of that debt.
And it's the $9 billion, ma'am.
But the Title III is about the whole debt. Title V is what gives you your authority under PROMOSA to come up with these innovative plans. Isn't that correct?
Title III is, you're correct, in large part having to do with the bankruptcy, the debt piece, but it also provides the board with a tool, this fiscal plan, to actually transform each of these covered entities. We incorporate the economic development aspects of Title V into that.
So that we are clear, if we were looking at how to get the electricity back as quickly as possible, it would be to exit that $9 billion debt. That would be one of the first things we would have to do, and then all your different plans under Title V can take place. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Zamat?
Not exactly, ma'am. To exit and to get the power back on, we need to take a number of tactical actions on the ground through FEMA money, through grants, whatever it may be. But there is a separate, related but separate process in renegotiating that debt and coming up with a plan to do that under Title III, and that's called the plan of adjustment.
So how much money is that? That's why you're here. How much money is that?
How much money is it to actually?
Right.
Ma'am, we could provide you some details very soon as we work that.
Please, thank you, and I yield back.
What is the total cost to the taxpayers of Puerto Rico, the imposition of the Jones Act? What's the total cost? Do you know?
No, I do not, sir.
At $625,000, you make 3 times what the chairperson of the Federal Reserve Board makes, and you don't know the cost?
That's correct, sir.
How can you plan for the future of Puerto Rico if you don't know a fundamental cost that has such a huge impact on the economy of Puerto Rico? Do you know when the Jones Act was imposed on Puerto Rico?
Yes, sir, and I did
Do you-
look at the
I'm sorry,
costs.
do you know when the Jones, I'm very limited in time. Do you
Year?
know?
No, I don't know off the
You
top.
don't, so you neither know when the Jones Act
Yes.
was imposed on Puerto Rico in 1920,
sir.
nor do you know the cost.
That's
But
correct.
many economists have suggested that the cost is between $350 to $400 million a year. And if you multiply that over the time the Jones Act has been imposed, you can see how minuscule the $74 billion would be. I would hope, could you please provide us with the total salaries of your deputy?
Thank you. She can do
and all
that.
the-
Yes,
You
sir.
can do that in writing, too.
Sure,
Ms.
I just
Velasquez.
wanted to make sure we got
Yes,
it
sir.
right. And how many
Ms.
people
Velasquez?
are assigned as bodyguards to each member of the board?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the following letters be placed in by unanimous consent, one from the National Hispanic Leadership Agenda, one from Earth Justice, one from the Hispanic Federation, and the last from VOCES.